Good morning, 5th graders. My name is Brian Hash, and for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be bringing you a presentation we like to call Choices Unlimited. Choices Unlimited is an educational program sponsored by the Laclede County Drug Council, and it's designed to bring honest and accurate information to students about drugs and alcohol and tobacco and other issues. So, around the Choices program, what we like to say, the purpose is to give students the tools they need to make wise choices concerning alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Today, we are going to start with the bottom line. And the bottom line of the Choices program for today is that knowledge is power. And that builds on the idea that the more we know about a subject, the better decisions we can make. And as part of our purpose is to give you honest and accurate information, that's what we're going to start with today. So, if you will refer to your drug fact sheet, this is what we're going to go over today. And the first thing we need to start with is a working definition of what is a drug. A drug is any substance other than food that can change the way our mind or our body work. That's the definition that we use in Choices Unlimited. Can drugs be good or bad? Well, of course they can. Some drugs are helpful. These are the kinds of medications that we would get prescribed to us from a doctor, or the kind of medication that we would go buy over the counter at the store, designed to be helpful to our body, to help us deal with our allergies, or to help us fight a cold, or to take care of a headache. Those are helpful drugs, and those are the proper uses for those drugs. In Choices Unlimited, we talk about something called drug abuse, and that is any time a drug is used, is misused, is used in a way that it wasn't designed for, or a harmful drug, and we're going to talk more about those harmful drugs in just a minute. We'll start with the first ones are what we call social drugs, and the social drugs are drugs that are legal but are not necessarily helpful. Those would include tobacco and alcohol. Then we move into what are called illegal drugs, and these are drugs like marijuana or methamphetamines or other assorted illegal drugs. And then there are harmful drugs that are legal, kinda. These are called synthetic drugs, and if you haven't heard of them, but they are things like that are called potpourri or K2. They are technically legal, but again, very harmful. And then the last thing we're going to talk about today is the abuse of prescription drugs. Prescription drugs are designed to be taken for a certain purpose by certain people. And when someone other than who they're prescribed for would take them, or when they were taken above the recommended dosage or in a way that they were not designed or directed to be taken, then that's prescription drug abuse. So why are drugs bad for us? Why are these harmful drugs bad for us? Well, they affect our brain, which is connected and helps control our entire body. So when our brain is affected, it has a resulting effect on the rest of our body. And it can affect every area of a person's life. When someone begins to abuse drugs, then there's a thing called addiction, and that becomes a very controlling part of their life. And it can affect their family, it can affect their job, their friends. Drug abuse is something that has more consequences than just the physical consequences of using that drug. Some illegal drugs, many as a matter of fact, can be lethal. They can kill you. And some of them can kill you from the very first time they're used. So, if we will refer to our drug fact sheet, we are going to begin looking at that. So we've covered a drug, which is any substance other than food that can affect the way our mind and body works. Then we talked about drug abuse, which is the misuse of drugs. Even helpful drugs can be misused or abused. Now, the first one of these on the list we're going to talk about is one of those social drugs, and that's alcohol. Alcohol is found in beer or wine or other kinds of liquor, and alcohol is a depressant. And what a depressant does is it slows the body down. And specifically, in the case of alcohol, it slows down brain function. And it affects the part of the brain specifically that can control decision-making skills and balance and those kind of things. So when someone has used too much alcohol, their speech can be slurred, they can make bad decisions, sometimes their inhibitions are lowered, or that little voice in your head that tells you when you're not supposed to do something, that gets a lot quieter when someone uses alcohol. And so, as a result, they might do or say things that they wouldn't ordinarily do or say. The thing about alcohol is that being a social drug, it's legal. If you're over the age of 21, it's legal to buy and consume. Now, that doesn't necessarily make it helpful. Someone can become addicted to alcohol in the same way they could become addicted to another drug. That's called alcoholism. And the next drug on our list that we're going to talk about is nicotine. And nicotine is the addictive chemical found in tobacco, in cigarettes or chewing tobacco or pipe tobacco. Nicotine is one of more than 4,000 chemicals that are found in cigarettes and it's smoke. It's the chemical that makes tobacco addictive or habit-forming. Once a person smokes or chews, the nicotine goes into their bloodstream and their body wants more of it. It has been said that nicotine is one of the most addictive chemicals on the planet. The nicotine in tobacco makes it a drug, which means that when a person uses tobacco, it changes their body in some way. Nicotine, I said alcohol was a depressant, nicotine is a stimulant. It speeds up the nervous system. So someone might feel like they have more energy. It also makes the heart beat faster and raises a person's blood pressure. Next on our list is marijuana. Now, marijuana is a drug that is a plant-based drug. It's a plant that grows, and it is processed into what we would call marijuana. And it's a green leafy plant. It's a member of the hemp family. It is also considered a mind-altering drug. It affects the brain in a lot of the same ways that alcohol does. It can impair judgment. It can impair balance and decision-making skills and speech. And there's a reason why it's illegal, because of those negative health effects. Also, smoking marijuana can be as damaging to a person's lungs as smoking tobacco. The next thing on our list is inhalants. Now, inhalants are common household products, just like glue or paint thinner or other common household products that someone would inhale. And what happens when they do this, sometimes it's called huffing, and what happens when they do this is those chemicals go directly into their bloodstream and directly to their brain. So it's a very fast way of getting those chemicals ingested and getting them into a person's bloodstream and to their brain. Now, in the same way that we wouldn't just take a big drink of paint thinner or have a big glass of nail polish remover or gasoline, it's the same thing. We certainly wouldn't take those chemicals into our body in that way, and therefore we would certainly not want to take them in through our lungs, because they can be very damaging to a person's lungs. Those chemicals can be very damaging to a person's nasal passages. And then the result is those chemicals can be very damaging to a person's brain. And this, using inhalants, can cause permanent brain damage. Prescription drug abuse. And I talked about this just a little bit. Prescription drug abuse is when a person takes a prescription, a medicine that is prescribed, and they either take it in a way that they were not directed to by their doctor, they take too much, or they take it along with alcohol or another drug, or they take someone else's prescription. So prescription drug abuse is using a prescription drug, which is designed to be helpful, in a way that it is not directed, which makes it harmful. Our prescriptions, if I go to the doctor and get a prescription, it is only for me. It is not for anyone else in my house. And the reason it becomes dangerous is because my doctor knows me, knows my medical history, and knows what drug I need to treat whatever I might be needing treatment for. For someone else to take that drug could be very dangerous. It could have very negative health effects on their body, is methamphetamines. And methamphetamines is what I would consider one of the more dangerous drugs that we see in our area. Methamphetamines is a very addictive stimulant. Stimulant, again, means that it speeds everything up. It speeds up the heart rate. It speeds up brain function. And the problem with that is someone that uses a lot of methamphetamines can speed it up so much that it does permanent damage to their brain and to their body. Methamphetamines is so addictive, people talk about being addicted to it from the very first time they've used it. And that means their body becomes hooked and they want more and more of it. Methamphetamines has very many health consequences. It can cause people's teeth to rot out. It can cause lesions and sores on a person's skin where the impurities in the drug are trying to work their way out of a person's system. Now, the last item on our drug fact sheet is called synthetic drugs. And synthetic drugs are drugs that mimic other commonly known illegal drugs, and they have very powerful effects on their users. Some of the things that these synthetic drugs might be referred to are K2 or bath salts or potpourri. These are drugs that can sometimes be found in a store over the counter, and they mimic the effect of some other commonly known illegal drugs. And they can be very dangerous in all of the same ways. They can impair someone's judgment. They can make things seem reasonable, things that they would never do ordinarily if they weren't on drugs. It can impair their decision-making skills, their balance, and their speech. They would think something might be a good idea that they wouldn't ordinarily under normal circumstances. Okay, so that's the end of our drug fact sheet. Now, this is just a small selection of drugs. There are many more illegal drugs that we could talk about. These are the ones that, unfortunately, are the most prevalent in our town, our county, the community where we live in Southwest Missouri. And so that's the reason we talk about these specifically. So today, knowledge is power. That's our bottom line. And what I hope I've done is given you the beginning of some knowledge about these specific drugs, helpful drugs, harmful drugs, what it means when we use a drug in a way that it wasn't intended to, or use an illegal drug. And also giving you some facts about these drugs that will be helpful when it would come time later in your life, perhaps, to make a decision about whether you are going to use alcohol, tobacco, or another drug. Again, my name's Brian Hash, and I'll see you in our next lesson.